performance of the persona is quite all right, as long as you know that you are not identical with the way in which you appear.
So today you've got two men who are supposedly in politics in opposition, Bush and Harriman, actually the members of the same secret society, people who appear to be in opposition politically or financially or industrially or in many ways are working together.
I'm Jeff DeRiso, the creator of a show called Confronting Sophistry. The goal of this show has always been to encourage people to research things for themselves. And it's only in performing that exercise and creating this show that I've realized the true obstacle that it is to get people to do that. So if you've been following this show, you know that I haven't posted in a while. And that wasn't my original intention. But after I released my last video, I felt the strong need to step back from the work of researching and creating this series and to just observe, to put all my energy into observing what was happening with the media and with geopolitics and with the election in the United States. And I'll admit, the election threw me off guard like it threw a lot of people off guard. And if you've seen my series, you can probably infer what my opinion is of elected officials in general. So there's not really any need for me to talk about the results of the election other than the media reaction to it, which I found extremely, extremely interesting. So what I observed in late October, getting towards election day, was a lot of information being released, and there wasn't anything really the establishment media could do about it other than scare people away from researching it. One TV news anchor on CNN even went so far as to say that it was illegal to read WikiLeaks.
Also interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So everything you learn about this, you're learning from us.
I feel a strong sense that the divide between people who research things for themselves and people who accept a spoon-fed version of reality, that divide is getting greater and greater by the minute, and the election only made that worse. Because now, at any point, anybody who says anything that goes against the official government narrative is promoting fake news, and they're an agent of Russian propaganda. So that's the point that it's gotten to. It's gotten to the point where this book predicted exactly what was happening. I don't know if you can see that, if the camera's focused on it, but this book, 1984, a book that I read in high school, a book that a lot of people who went through the public education system read in high school. In this book, there's the Ministry of Truth, which is a government agency that tells you what is and is not true, and anything that the Ministry of Truth doesn't say is true is propaganda. Does that sound familiar? Because it does to me, but see, here's where the problem comes in. Here's where Confronting Sophistry was not an effective show. Because while I did get some great comments from some people who had already started confronting sophistry in their own lives, they were not my target audience because they already knew the things that I was trying to explain. So the problem with my show was that I targeted an audience who is so determined not to listen to what I have to say that they will do almost anything. I think the content of the show is good, and I put a lot of effort into the research and the presentation of the show, and I think there are some people who got some good things out of it, and I appreciate the positive comments that they left in the comments section. But I think that, in my mind, who I was really targeting when I created the show were the people that want to get their information spoon-fed to them from a few sources of information. One of the really clever and crafty strategies of sophistry is that if you want to get someone to promote your agenda, a good way to do that is to convince them that by promoting that agenda, they're saving the world. They're a hero. So when I come along, they look at me like I'm a terrible, mean, nasty person for merely promoting the use of logic. And how can I blame them for that? Because they've been convinced that they're a hero for promoting the agenda of these small group of sophists. So it's really hard for me to break through that. I mean, how do you convince somebody who thinks that they're saving the world that they're actually part of the problem? That's a really hard thing to do, and I think my goal of bridging that divide between people who want to research for themselves and people who want to get their information from a small group of sources, I think that goal was too ambitious, because there's $1 billion industry into driving that wedge between those groups of people. So how am I, a poor 28-year-old, gonna go up against that? How am I gonna do that? I mean, I think it's good that I tried to bridge that gap, but I can't really build that bridge unless that person's gonna meet me halfway and start researching things for themselves. And that's really all I wanted out of this show. In the intro of all my episodes, there's a clip of Carl Jung talking about the persona. And this is important to what I'm talking about here. So the persona is the outer world view of you. The persona is the collection of people's perception of you. But that's not you. You only know who you are. You only know if you've researched all the facts necessary to say what you're saying, or if you're talking out your ass or parroting talking points from the media. You only know whether you drink too much, or if you have bad habits, or if you eat too much candy, like I do. You only know who you are. You are the only one who can really change your mind. If my goal is to get you to research when someone else is out there telling you you're saving the world by not doing independent research, I'm just wasting my energy, aren't I? And I could be doing a lot better things to improve my life and to make my life better. So for me to call you out and to try to show you the error of your ways, it's not really a useful exercise, because you already know it deep down inside, whether you are honestly doing all you can to research the facts and find the truth. You know whether you're doing that or not. And I wanted to make a bridge to reach out to those people who have the integrity to reflect within themselves and say, maybe I haven't been doing all the research that I could be, and maybe I should check out some other sources of information. That was my goal, to get that reaction to happen, but I think that was unrealistic to expect that in a lot of people, because as I saw from the results of the election, a lot of people just want to continue on being spoon-fed information and never questioning it. So I've decided to take the show, Confronting Sophistry, in a new direction. The 3 topics I had left to cover in my original plan were science, religion, and secret societies. Now, these 3 things are extremely controversial topics, and when you try to research the truth about these 3 things, there's a massive amount of disinformation coming at you from every angle. So it's really hard to nail down a definitive understanding of religion, spirituality, secret societies, and science. I'm choosing now to take a break from producing the show to delve deep into research and to figure out a way to continue this show in a way that creates content for people who genuinely are curious and who genuinely want to research things for themselves, and creates a resource for those people to use. I need to do a lot more research to understanding all the ways that these 3 work in conjunction with each other in creating this control system that we live in. One of the good things that came out of this show, Confronting Sophistry, was that I came to a realization myself in that humans want to categorize things, and learning a lot of times and teaching is about putting things into categories. And I don't think we can avoid that. I don't think it's a bad thing. But if you're going to categorize things, having a proper criteria as your foundation is extremely important. So if you want to categorize people, let's say, the best criteria that you can choose to categorize people is behavior. I notice that there's a tendency to categorize people based on their opinions, based on their beliefs, based on their ideologies or their core values. I hear that a lot in business. But all of that is manifested in your behavior. So your behavior shows the manifestation of your true ideology, of your true philosophy, of your true view of the world, regardless of what you advertise to people. You can go around telling people how much of a Christian you are, but if you are sexually harassing young children, that behavior tells me a lot more about you than your label of being a Christian. So you can wear a badge that tells the world, my opinion is this, and I'm so great because I have this opinion. Great, good for you. Put a bumper sticker on your car, tell the fucking world about it. But what I'm concerned about is your behavior. You can believe whatever you want, but if your behavior shows me that you're truly curious and you want to research things for yourself without rushing to judgment, then I will have a lot of respect for you. Regardless of what your belief is, of what your ideology says, your actions will tell me all that I need to know. I'm not going to try to trick you into believing something or not believing something. To me, any belief or viewpoint or opinion is only as good as the behavior that it produces in the person or the individual. So in continuing this show, there will be a focus on categorizing patterns of behavior and how patterns of behavior affect all of our daily lives, because I think that's something that is really worth focusing on. Another thing I realized in creating this show is that Confronting Sophistry really is only one piece of the puzzle. So I want my work in the future to encompass my entire personality. I chose to exhibit the behavior of Confronting Sophistry because I felt that it's something that does not happen enough in the world. And it's not because I'm a confrontational person who's looking for a confrontation or to stir up disagreements between people. But I do think that having a disagreement is okay if it gets you to a greater understanding. And I think that being afraid of a disagreement is just as bad as always trying to provoke a disagreement. So you have to find the balance there. Part of me finding my balance is not focusing on confronting sophistry all the time, because there are other topics that interest me, things that I like to research that will be more likely to maybe bridge that gap with the people who are on the edge of wanting to research things for themselves. While Confronting Sophistry was a fun exercise for me and experiment with media, it's not something that I want to do all the time. I really love to use my time really wisely and to spend it doing something that is going to better my life in the future. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue reading books, watching documentaries, listening to podcasts, seeking out every possible source of information about the things that I'm interested that I possibly can. I'm going to continue doing that. Researching the topics of science, of religion, of spirituality, and of secret societies brings you to a really deep and sometimes a really dark place when you start understanding how the world really works. And a lot of researchers that I really respect see a probability that the world is actually being controlled by, for lack of a better word, black magicians. People who have the majority of the population under a sort of spell, like I talked about earlier, believing that they're saving the world by perpetuating the agenda of the small group of elite. So while I don't know if that's really true or if black magicians even really do exist, what I can say is that that statement is true on a metaphorical level. And I certainly see that when I look at the corporate media. And to be honest, it makes me sad that I can't bridge that divide, but I have to just keep on doing what I know is going to be best for my own life. The sophists, the people who do have control, they have a lot of knowledge and understanding of the world. They just don't use it to do things that are good and honest, like I want to do. So if I want to really counter their agenda, these so-called black magicians, I really have to ascend my own consciousness to a greater understanding. Because right now, they're a step ahead of me. I didn't see the results of this election coming, and I probably should have. So the best thing for me to do is to focus on bettering myself and my own understanding of the world. And whoever wants to join me on that journey is absolutely welcome. And whoever wants to factually check everything that I've said in all my videos and look for things that I may have missed, I appreciate that too. Whatever contribution you want to make, I would appreciate that. I put a lot of effort into this show, and I put a lot of myself into the show. If you've been a follower of this show and if you've seen all the episodes, what I want to encourage you to do is write to me. Write to me at confrontingsophistry@gmail.com. It's on the screen there. So what I want to hear is whatever you have to say. If you want to correct me on something, if you want to suggest a topic that you'd like me to cover more deeply, if you'd like to tell me a story of how you experienced sophistry in your life, I really want to hear from you. I really want to get a better understanding of people who have gone on similar journeys that I have in trying to bridge a gap, and what strategies may or may not have worked, because I'm only a few years into doing all this research, into waking up to researching things for myself. And the people that I've recommended, the shows and authors and people I've recommended on this show, are years and years ahead of me. So I'm going to continue researching their work and their material and gaining a better understanding myself. So thank you so much for coming on this journey of confronting sophistry with me. And if you take nothing else away from this show, take away this: the behavior of researching things for yourself is a behavior to be cultivated, and a behavior to be praised, and a behavior to be proud of. Stay tuned for updates on Season 2. I'm Jeff Deriso, and I'll see you next time.